The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Zeftar of the Vorthak Empire finished reading the archaeological report. His 3 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of extreme distress among his species. Around the circular chamber, representatives from 12 different civilizations sat in stunned silence, their various appendages, tentacles, and sensory organs twitching with nervous energy. "This cannot be accurate," hissed Counselor Viridian, her serpentine form coiling tighter around her crystalline perch. "The humans have only been in space for barely 2 centuries. They're primitives, barely past their nuclear age when we first encountered them." Dr. Kethra, the renowned Altarian xenoarchaeologist who had compiled the report, stood slowly. Her 6 arms gestured toward the holographic display that materialized in the center of the chamber. Ancient symbols, weathered stone tablets, and carbon-dated artifacts rotated slowly in the blue light. "The evidence is irrefutable," she began, her voice carrying the weight of a discovery that would reshape galactic history. "Every major archaeological site across 17 different worlds shows the same pattern. The deeper we dig, the more human artifacts we find. Not similar to human artifacts, identical human artifacts." The display zoomed in on a particular relic, a perfectly preserved knife with a distinctive bone handle, carved with intricate patterns. This blade was found on Zirion Prime, buried beneath layers of sediment that date back 47,000 years. The DNA traces still embedded. In the handle, Homo sapiens, 100%. Fleet Admiral Gorthak of the Hegemony Defense Force slammed his massive fist against his console. "Impossible. Our historians trace the first galactic civilization to the progenitors, who vanished 30,000 years ago. Humans didn't even exist then." "But they did," Dr. Kethra continued, her voice growing stronger with conviction. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings of the Council, humans didn't just exist 30,000 years ago. They were the progenitors." The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted in 17 different languages while universal translators struggled to keep up. Emergency protocols activated as several species' physiological stress responses triggered environmental warnings. Ambassador Zeftar raised his primary arm for order. "Dr. Kethra, explain how a species we've observed evolving from primitive hunter-gatherers could possibly be our ancient ancestors." The xenoarchaeologist's display shifted to show a timeline spanning millennia. "The pattern suggests a cyclical collapse and rebirth. Humanity reached incredible technological heights, far beyond what any current galactic civilization has achieved. They seeded the galaxy with life, guided the evolution of dozens of species, and built the ancient hyperspace networks we still use today." She paused, allowing the magnitude of her words to sink in. Then something happened. Our best estimates suggest a catastrophic war, possibly civil war that lasted centuries. Humanity's galactic empire collapsed. Their worlds were abandoned, their technology lost. The survivors retreated to one small blue planet on the galactic rim, and slowly, over tens of thousands of years, forgot their own history. Counselor Viridian's voice came out as barely a whisper. "The humans we know today, they're not primitives ascending to space travel. They're ancients, returning to space." "Precisely," Dr. Kethra confirmed. "And there's more. The genetic markers we've been tracking across the galaxy, the ones we assumed proved independent evolution, they're all human genetic markers. We didn't evolve independently. We were cultivated, guided, enhanced by human genetic engineering 40,000 years ago." The implications hit the chamber like a shockwave. The Vorthak Empire had built their entire cultural identity around being the galaxy's eldest species. The Altarians claimed to be the most evolved. The Hegemony had positioned themselves as the rightful inheritors of progenitor technology. All of it was based on a lie. Admiral Gorthak's voice was hollow when he spoke again. "The human colonies, we've been treating them as junior partners, limiting their access to hyperspace routes, restricting their expansion, dismissing their scientific contributions. Because we thought they were children playing with toys they didn't understand," Zeftar finished. But they weren't learning our technology. They were remembering it. Dr. Kethra activated a new hologram, a star map showing human colony worlds. Notice the pattern of their expansion? They're not exploring randomly. They're returning to worlds they inhabited before. Worlds where our archaeological teams have found the deepest, oldest human artifacts. The display zoomed in on a particular system, one that had been at the center of a recent territorial dispute. New Terra, the human colonists claimed it, was perfect for human habitation and fought 3 different species for the right to settle there. We assumed it was coincidence. It wasn't. They've been there before. 30,000 years ago, that world was the capital of the human galactic empire. Silence stretched across the chamber as each delegate absorbed the truth. They weren't the inheritors of a vanished civilization. They were the created children of that civilization, and their creators had returned. "What do we do with this information?" Counselor Viridian asked finally. Zeftar stood slowly, his diplomatic training warring with the enormity of what they'd learned. "We pray that humanity's return to the stars was motivated by exploration and wonder, not by a desire to reclaim what was once theirs." As if summoned by his words, the chamber's communication array activated. The face of Captain Sarah Chen, representative of the Terran Colonial Authority, appeared on the main screen. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she said with a smile that suddenly seemed far more knowing than it had before. "I hope you're ready to discuss humanity's application for full membership. We have so much to share with you about our historical perspective on galactic civilization." Dr. Kethra looked around the chamber at the faces of beings who had just learned they were not the galaxy's inheritors, but its inheritors' children. The humans weren't coming home as conquerors. They were coming home as parents, checking on how their children had been doing while they were away. The question was, had their children been good while the parents were gone?